Welcome, soul family. It's Azuma here again, welcoming you all to another day in the life of my spiritual journey and the techniques, the different practices I use in my self-development and in my pursuit to be a better version of myself. So I hope it is useful to some of you out there, and if it is, please like and subscribe and join us for the rest of this journey. So today I'm going to do a segment on my ascension, my spiritual ascension, my conscious journey back to self, back to what I was put on this earth to do and who I was meant to always be, and how I'm continuously seeking the divine, God, spirit, source energy, however you may choose to refer to the all-encompassing one. So where do I start? I've always considered myself a spiritual person, not so much in a traditional context. As a child of Ghanaian parents, I remember my mum donning all her 6 children in white robes and bonnets to attend a Christian group, Friday Apostles. I think that's what they were called. Oh no, actually, she wouldn't take all 6 of us, she'll take 5 of us. She never took up my brother. Definitely no saving his soul. Just kidding, Erin. But of course, that didn't last very long. Not only did our unruliness embarrass her too much, she was brought up as a Catholic, so there was a slight confusion on who she wanted to be. So she left us at home and went on her own journey of self-discovery. Now she's a very proud Christian who only follows positivity and light. So I'm now in my early 20s, and the desire to know who I am is ringing really loud in my ears. Who are you? 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 So this inner wanting started a cycle, and with it brought in different antagonists that came along to shake up my beliefs on who I was and make me question a lot of things. So first came in one of my homies. Let's call him the Professor for today's benefit. He's a real character, really strong black man. Came from an African spirituality angle and questioned all my whitewashing, as he'd put it. So that got me thinking, is spirituality also colorist? Does it determine how blessed you are on this earth, your color? With all the terrible demonic things we as black people have experienced due to a spiritual battle going on in the 5th dimension between good and evil, and the African race being the good will one day rise up and take their rightful place. I'm not saying this was all his rhetoric, but it's probably a mashup of all the different things I've come across in my time, but who knows. Then came the next phase of my spiritual search. This wasn't a really long one, I'll have to say. I'm sure you all understand if you're anything like me. So I was seeing this guy, like myself, was in search for his spiritual truth. What we're here for, the meaningful life, etc., etc. How we both came to the conclusion that Christianity was the answer, I can't quite recall. Maybe it had something to do with the Professor with the Bible bashing. But we decided to go to attend this church in Ladbroke Grove. It was a young, funky church. Some of you might know about it, I don't know. It was really relaxing and everyone seemed to be on the same page. The people were really nice and everyone seemed as idealistic as we were and had a cornucopia of knowledge about their faith. So we thought, why not? So this went on for a few months until one solitary evening we decided to go to Bible study and was reading a scripture, and I was listening and I was thinking, this don't resonate how I resonate. So here I am asking questions about doctrines that weren't sitting too right with me. But we're constantly met with like a single perspective and one interpretation. There was no wiggle room. I thought that's a bit weird. That didn't quite work for me. I consider myself to be an open-minded person, and you have the ability to take on things quite easily. But I tell you, brainwashing wasn't going to be one of them. So I decided to keep it moving and kept myself to myself for a while and did some of my own investigations. Fast forward some more years, I'm in my mid-20s, drifting through life, doing me, having a few unfulfilling relationships, as you do. And then after the last one, I decided something has to change. And there comes somebody else that's slightly different from the rest. He seemed to have a really great sense of self and all the answers as to why we as Africans were in the position we were in and why God allowed it to happen, and it was part of the big plan. So he was an Ansar Muslim. I think that's what you call them. A follower of Dr. Malachi Z. York and his crew. Now, if you've never heard of them, look up the National Nation of Nubians or something like that. I mean, their leader was originally a musician, then became enlightened, and he had all this amazing rhetoric and ideas about creating a black economy, a black city, and, having everything all kept in the community, which obviously sounded really impressive. But then came all the other sort of doctrines that was like telling me what to do, where to wear, and a lot of what I would call brainwashing. And as you know, I don't do brainwashing. Anyway, when he started to enforce a dictatorship, I knew this was some man-made issue. So him and his issues had to go, and so did my short-lived flirtation with, Holy Tabernacle, that's what they were called. So the journey to find myself continued to bubble in me as time went past. And there came some more discoveries through my own volition. I must have raised my vibration because certain books like Conversations with God, with Neil Donald Walsh, Chateauguay, and all those kind of things that were about vibrations came about, and I thought, yeah, I know the meaning of life. I know who I am. I know all the answers. Yeah, I'm there. So a series of synchronicities took place, and I became part of the Brixton art scene in the 90s. Bit of a blur thinking back, and how I sort of met the next person. They say when the student is ready, a teacher will appear. And in my case, it was George Kelly, a well-known sculptor at the time, still is, I'm certain. He became my mentor, and I in turn became one of his muses. We discussed for hours all the things that I held really close to my heart, I took for gospel, and he shattered a lot of it, basically. Yeah, sometimes we'll be coming from similar perspectives, but more often enough, we were polar opposites. Yeah, I knew most things were a matter of interpretation, but I thought what I was reading and what I was absorbing and what the teachers were saying were correct. But when I measured how my world was, my outside world, I must have realised that at some point something I wasn't doing right. I wasn't overstanding. That was a word I learnt from my new Warbian fella. Overstanding. Man, I feel so fortunate and grateful. My path led to the next incoming person. So George was a really good friend with a guy called Tony Moo. Tony is who you may all know now as Mooji. Mooji is a very famous, well-known spiritual teacher who teaches worldwide and has hundreds of thousands of followers from all around the world. So this was when all my different mindsets and things I'd accrued throughout the years were starting to take place and become formulated. Tony brought into my consciousness the awareness that the spirit within is the I am. So when we say I am, to associate the I am of our physical attributes was incorrect. I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm this. That's not the I am. I was like, what the? I mean, I'd read that, but I suppose that's probably where one of my disconnects was. I read it, but I had become attached, like most people, to my personality and the certain traits that I thought were, just for me, my own personal traits, my personal personality that I really loved. I loved me. I loved who I was. So I wasn't going to let him convince me that me as an individual wasn't the I am. So trying to battle someone that is so serene is futile. He's a really talented guy by nature, fantastic artist. His home was had beautiful murals painted all over the walls. The exterior was the same. But the thing I loved about him was, even though he knew his physical expression as an artist, and I know he could have made a lot of money from that calling, he knew his deep calling at the core was to bring his message and his teachings to the people. I mean, I didn't understand at the time how, he didn't really expand on his art, but he obviously knew what was calling him louder. Would sit in silence for hours also. There would be droves and droves of people just coming in and out of the house, and it was just quite a bizarre experience. I didn't understand at the time, obviously, what it was all about, but as I look back now, I know it's all part of the divine plan to lead me to where I am now. I mean, obviously, it imprinted me and has left an impression. Walking the walk and talking the talk isn't always going to be easy. It's taken up to now to really realize, all the answers that I was always seeking and all the different routes that I took all led me to here. It was all about the journey back to self. The self that truly knows your essence, the self that knows what will make you happy, what will make you feel at your highest joy, what will bring you peace of mind. How is it always possible to stay on your spiritual path? It's not always, because life will dictate different things. Things we've called into our lives unconsciously will dictate. So that is why it's more important to consciously be aware of who you are, what makes you tick, and the things that just get you in the right sort of vibration. You don't want to call in things, which most of us have done in our ignorance, calling things that just weren't going to serve us and still don't, or are still involved in things that don't serve us. But in my humble opinion, it takes for us all to learn to cultivate a relationship with our God, our source energy, our divine, our inner being, our ancestors, who are always looking out for you, guiding you, and speaking to you in a language that you can understand and that resonates with you. That's the beauty of it all. You know, just be clear as to what you want to create and what you want in your life. And have the knowledge that you don't have to try and achieve it all on your own. That's the thing that always cheers me up. Just offload it. Offload it to your guides. Offload it to God. And just watch as all the little nuggets of information, the little nudges into directions come to you. It's great. I do that. I have conversations with my inner being throughout the day. I ask it everything. I ask it to show me signs. If I'm feeling a bit glum, I say, show me love. Show me how I'm being loved. Or, you know, show me a sign that I'm on the right track. But most of all, you have to be active and have to want to become a co-creator of your life. You have to co-create with the universe and not just wait around and see what life brings you. Because, of course, if you just wait, you're going to get disappointed. It doesn't work like that. The universe needs to feel that you're passionate about what you want to do or want in your life. If you want something, you speak it into your life. You write it down, you journal, you have conversations with spirit, and, you know, speak to your ancestors. I mean, they're more experienced and they've gone through a lot of what we're going through. Speak to your ancestors. It's just so, I mean, once you know the process, you just feel so blessed. I mean, situations come in and happen in our lives to show us what we don't like, so that we can make the choice and choose the things we do like. I mean, we need to consciously activate that desire, because what people don't know is it's actually the desire and the enthusiasm and passion that activates manifestation. You know, choosing to love yourself, choosing to love who you are is also part of the whole process. So let's do that. Let's continue to choose us. Or you can choose to continue to repeat unsatisfactory cycles, unsatisfactory relationships, stay in unsatisfactory, that word is not great for me, unsatisfactory situations, jobs. We have a choice. But do choose wisely, because our ascension to a higher level of consciousness can only take place once we trust the process, are brave enough to surrender to the calling of our inner voices, and to, you know, make a conscious effort to pursue that inner peace that's always been with us all of the time. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed my trip down memory lane. It brings me such joy listening to, you know, the stories and my journey to this place. I hope it inspires some of you out there, and if it has, please subscribe, join, like.